Today on VLAMP, we're showing you some awesome tips in Adobe Lightroom. Welcome everyone to VLAMP, video lighting, audio, music, and photography how-to show. I'm of course your host, Matt Haslam, and I would like to be the first one to say welcome everyone to Season 6 of the show. It's incredible that we've made it this far and put out over 140 episodes now. It's just been an amazing ride, and I hope you guys stay with us for the entire ride because we have a lot of stuff planned in Season 6. Much more bigger stuff than ever before we're doing in this season. We're having huge builds. We're doing a bunch of tips and a bunch of Q&A sessions. That way you can interact with the show and ask us any questions you have, and so much more planned. So stay tuned for that. But today, like I said, we're in Adobe Lightroom teaching you some tips and tricks on how to utilize the platform to the best ability. You might know some of this, but there are some tips that I found incredibly useful to making all of my photography work really stand out. And as you can tell, I have some Christmas photos in here. This is of actually one of my family members. So I'm not showing you any client work because I'm not allowed to do that. But this is actually of my nephew, and we did a little photography session with him. And so basically what I'm going to do here is on my keyboard I have the right and left arrows. I can go right with it, and down here at the bottom in this section right down here, you can see I'm going left and right on all these photographs, right? And as I'm going through, just for this photography shoot alone, I had over 1,000 photographs to go through, and I had about 6 hours to go through all of them. So in order to go through that many photographs in that short of a time span, what I end up doing is I go to the first photographs. First, I import all my photos as you would. Basically, you just go down to your library here and hit import right here. You import from your hard drive wherever it's stored at. I'm not going to do that because all my photographs are already in here that we're going to show you today. And then once they're imported, they're all going to be in this big, huge library. And I can double click on any of these to bring up the develop page, right over here. And I can see the photographs. So what I end up doing is I go into the first photo. Okay, I like that photo. So I can press any key 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 to mark it as a starred photograph. Let's say I want that as a rating 1 because it's good, but maybe there's something better out there. This next photograph, I really like that black backdrop back there, so I'm going to rate that a number 5. And that's, by the way, that's assigning 5 stars and 1 star to those photos. So if I go back to the library, I can say filters over here. I only want 5-star. I only want 5-star ratings. So I'm going to say 5 stars right here on the rating system, and it's going to show me every photograph that I have under the 5 stars. Just like with 1, it's going to show me every one I have 1 star or above with that. And that way I can get out all of the photographs that I really didn't like. But let's say I don't want any rating on it. I just want to show all the photographs here. I'm going to go to this photograph. Let's say I want to cut this photograph out of my library. I don't like this photo. There's something wrong with it. There's a much better one later on that I know about. I'm going to hit the X key, and it's going to set it as rejected, which means I don't want it. And in my library, it's going to make it shadowed over here. And later on, I can go through and I can remove all rejected photographs from this library. And that's basically what I do. I go through all the photographs I have first and set them as rejected, 1 star to 5 stars. I see what I want and what I need, what's the best, what's totally not even useful to me. And then out of maybe the 100 that are left out of the 1,000 photographs, I can go through here and say, all right, that's a 5-star. I really want to make sure that's a perfect one that I'm going to give my client. And so let's say we go into here and we get to a photograph like this, where this actually is my family's Christmas card photo this year. And some of you out there watching right now probably received this. But I'm going to go up here in the develop tool because I really like this photograph, but I really don't like this whole electrical panel being in the background there. It just doesn't suit the whole mood of the photograph. It takes your attention away from the people in the photograph. And I like the Christmas tree. I like the painting back here. It sets a mood that we're in a living room or something like that. I know exactly where this was shot, but it was actually shot in a much, much bigger building. And so it had an electrical panel there. And I said to my family, I can take that out in post. And so that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do right now. You can take out red eyes with this tool right here. By the way, I'm over here in the top right corner of the screen. And I can take out red eye correction. But if you have a professional camera, you don't have red eye. That doesn't happen on professional level cameras. If you have a lower end camera, you may still have that. I can crop the photograph, but I shoot in RAW all the time, and I don't like cropping anything out. There are some times when it's needed, but most of the time it's not. For instance, I could crop out this television, but I like that television being in there because it sets a mood of this photograph that we're at home, we're, in this very relaxed environment. I like that being in there. And secondly, I want to give the photograph balance between where I am in the photograph. There's a little bit of space here. I don't want to cut this off anymore. So I need space over here on the side of my other family member to balance it out. You don't want a photograph being off center. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take out this electrical panel because I really don't like that. And like I said, it takes away your attention from the people. And how I'm going to do that is by using this tool right here, which is a spot removal tool. And you can easily press Q on the keypad in order to bring it up. But I typically go over here to all the tools because I'm used to just hovering my mouse over and clicking on what tool I need. So I'm going to click on that tool, and I'm going to shade in all the areas that I don't want. I'm going to do one little tiny spot at a time from this, and it's going to say, where do you want that color to be masked from? It's going to take another spot of the photograph and replace what I just selected. So I'm going to select a place right around it that's of pure color. It doesn't have any of that electrical panel thing in it. And I'm going to do the same down here. And when you're doing this, guys, make sure that the spot you're choosing for it to replace from this spot right here is actually somewhere close to what you want it to be. As it came up there, it had a part of my shirt. Why it does that, I have no idea, but it thinks my shirt is the same color as this. And parts of it, yes, but mostly no. My shirt was definitely different that day. So I'm going to choose that. And now I'm going to go to all these lines and here. And like I said, I'm only choosing a little spot at a time. This is a very time-consuming process, I know. Photography isn't really the, least time-consuming thing in the world. It does take time to do. That's why, you're paying a little bit extra for editing because of these kind of things. It takes some extra time, but they really do make it worthwhile in the end. And I'm just going to go over that one more time. You can go over old spots, by the way. You can do these as many times as you want. There's been quite a few old photographs that I've tried to do this same type of thing on that basically restore the photograph to normal. And you can go over these as many times as you need in order to replace them. So I'm going to go through here and get all these spots out, and I'll join you back up when they're all removed. And now that we're done editing, as you can see, this is a lot better. I have a ton of these little marks in here to replace certain areas, But one thing that you have to consider is that when you're doing this, guys, you need a very distinct line between like black and white, or in this case, between my hair, which is dark brown, to the background, which is beige. I can take out a part of this person's hair in here between black and the backdrop, which is beige. I can't take out something very small, like on this Christmas ornament right here in the middle. I can't take that out because it's too small. There's not enough distinction right there between two different colors in order for me to do it. Something like that electrical panel, I can do that very easily. But now that we're done taking that out, let's say I want to take this photo out of Lightroom and I want to make it my Christmas card. I can either print it right from Lightroom, or what I typically do is I export, but I want to go back to my library first. Rather than only doing one at a time, guys, you can do a whole selection of them. So let's say I want all my best photographs exported to my file system in my computer. That way I can print any of them I like, or I can just save the ones that I really like. Now, typically, what I highly suggest photographers do is save all their raw files from everything, because you never know if a family might come back and say, you know, do you have any more than this? Do you have another pose? And I always like to keep everything forever. I know it's a lot of hassle, but you have no idea how many times I have to go back in the raw files and find something again from the 1,000 photographs. So, it's all a matter of what you want to do later on. If you want to tell a customer no eventually, then sure, delete all your files. But if you want to be like me and say yes all the time, and maybe charge a little bit extra later on for extra editing fees, then say yes and keep all your hard drives and keep all your footage on your hard drives in your system. Have a 40 terabyte RAID system like I do. Keep everything. And so what we're going to do right now is we're going to choose all the best photographs. So I'm going to go into this one and mark it as a 5 because I really like that now that electrical panel's out of there. And I'm going to go back to this other grid view. And I want to say everything from 1 and above I want to export. Now, this could be 3 photographs like here, or it could be 100, it could be 1,000 photographs. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go up here to File and hit Export. And here's going to bring up my decision of where I want it saved, which in this case, I want it saved in a certain file. Now, typically what I do in my file system is under a project, I'll have a file for all my raw files. I'll have a file for print called exports for printing on matte paper, exports for printing on gloss paper, and exports for web publishing, which basically is 4 different ways of keeping these files. Your raw files you're keeping, and then 3 different ways you're going to export these photographs, because Lightroom came out with a way you can export in 3 different ways now. So I'm going to say I want these on my website, or I want them on Facebook, or I want to give them to my customer to put them on their Facebook. Anything that they're going to do to publish them on the web with a screen, I want to choose web functions. So I have this preset over here that I defined earlier, and I want to save them in my original file, and I can select whatever file I want here, and I'm not going to rename it because I like to keep all my images the same number. That way I can always go back and change it. If a customer asks me, can you crop this photo a little bit, I can always go back to that number in my raw files. I want to save it as a JPEG. I can save it as anything I like, but I like to save them as JPEGs with 100% quality, because that's what customers understand and that's what most computers can read. I like sRGB for that, for web development, and this is where it actually comes out. So output sharpening, this tab right here, sharpen for screen, I can choose matte paper or glossy paper or screen, and I'm going to say high because I like the way that looks. And with anything that's going on the web, I want to include all metadata from what kind of camera I shot it on, what lens I did, what f-stop I used. I want to put in there what date I shot it on. I want to have that metadata because Metadata also includes copyright information of this was shot by Matt Haslam Productions, it was shot by photographer Matt Haslam on this date at this time, and that way no one can steal that photo later or claim it's theirs. I want all that metadata there because that's gonna help me later on if I need a copyright strike on something, which I don't do on customers, but if someone else decides to pick up that photograph and say it's theirs, well, then I have the metadata there to prove it's not. I usually put a watermark on all the photographs going online, and I have a couple different presets of what I like to have on my photographs. You can define those in Edit Watermarks tab right here. But for printing on matte paper or glossy paper, I can choose glossy or matte right here. And I always include the metadata because I want that there, but I don't put a watermark on it because I don't like giving clients photographs with my watermark on it when they're going to put it on their Christmas card or they're going to print it in a flyer somewhere. I don't like doing that. That's just my personal preference, but that's the way my customers like it. And so I don't put that watermark on there. I can hit export, and now it's going to export all the photographs I have selected. So I have to make sure they're all selected. I have to press down on the first one, left on your mouse, and hold down Shift, and then hold down the last one, and now I can say export to all of them. And I always export photographs 3 different ways, one for matte paper, one for glossy paper, and one for web development. And that way I can tell my clients, if you're going to put these on your Facebook, use the web one. If you're going to put them on matte paper when you print it out, print from the matte version. And if you're going to print on glossy paper, print from the gloss version. And I have 3 different files on the USB flash drive I give them with the photos 3 different ways. So basically that's Lightroom in a gist, and the simplicities of developing your photographs in a very small amount of time frame. Typically, you can go through about 1,000 photographs in about 2 or 3 hours and develop all of the photographs depending on how talented you are as a photographer. I always say, when customers say, you can just fix that in post. Not everything can be fixed in post. With a photograph like this, let's say, I know as a photographer I can take that out in post, but I only want to do a certain number of them. I only want to do one of them for a development session like this where I'm editing photographs down. I don't want to do 1,000 photographs that way because it takes way too long. So I know as a photographer that I need to make things right on set. I need to shoot it right. If it takes 5 minutes to set up an extra light panel, or if it takes 5 minutes to set up an extra bounce card or something like that, I'm going to do that on set to make sure it's right in all of my original photographs. That way I'm not spending a bunch of time in editing here. I'm just going through and fixing very minor things like that electrical panel, like coming up with what are the best out of these 1,000 photographs. So that's why it only takes me about 2 or 3 hours to get through 1,000 photographs. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial on a little bit of tips and tricks you can use in Lightroom. And if you have any tips and tricks that you'd like to share in Lightroom, please do leave them in the comments below this video. And if you haven't already, please do hit that like button to tell us you like this kind of content. And hit that red subscribe button to get all this great content every single week at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Brand new episodes every single day at 10:30 a.m. Brand new videos and monthly live streams first Monday of every month at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great day, everyone, and see us next time here on VLAN Video Lighting, Audio, Music, and Photography How-To Show. Bye for now.